Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday, and welcome to the Tech Only live stream. I kind of wanted to go over a few things this morning, and then we will get to your questions. But let me get questions up. Could everybody hear me? I just want to make sure that everybody can. Okay, great. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Let me go over a couple things that I wanted to talk about first. I was sent this as a, well, okay, that's my little joke for today. But we're going to talk about some scams that are going on. And there are so many different scams. It seems like there's scams left and right. And what I would be careful of, anybody that's new, you may fall victim as compared to someone that's been here for years, where we keep on going over the scams that are popping up. But here's one. It's funny, someone sent this to me the other day, and the countdown was ending in like, a day or so. Actually less than a day. And now we're back to 6 days. So if you don't know what Cardin is, I don't. I guess they say it's the future of e-commerce. Do not visit this website and do not buy this token. If you don't know what you're buying, don't buy it. Check with other people, do your own research, see if it is something that might interest you. If we talk about it, then you may know that it's a good thing. If you see someone broadcasting on YouTube, just be wary. Don't buy anything that you think is okay. Buy something that you know is okay. The next thing I'm going to want to go over is, we'll save that for later. But what we'll go, well, yeah, we'll just cover it right now. So I wanted to cover some Apple products. Sorry, Windows folks, if you like Windows, Windows has its place. It's just not a place in my life right now. I do use Windows when I need to, but I don't. It's not my main focus of my in my computer life. And I'll just go over this. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, he likes crypto. He doesn't think that Apple is going to accept payments in crypto, but it's nice that Tim is in our corner, and maybe he'll help us along with people in Washington, D.C., but who knows? But back to Apple. I prefer the Mac over Windows. I would say in my line of what I use and what I like the Mac. It's user-friendly. My family can use it. I don't have to explain a lot. In my life, then I like Linux, and then Windows kind of last. And each has their own place, and you just need to figure out how that will fit in yours. The thing that I wanted to share is that if you do want to buy an Apple product, one thing that you can do is get a little discount, and that is, let me do it here, Apple Education Store. If you search for Apple Education Store, you can get educational pricing. You don't have to prove that you're a student anymore. You used to have to. In fact, I've used all my educational pricing up, so there's only so many computers that you can buy at the educational pricing, but I'll give you kind of an example. So let's go look at the MacBook Pro. And I'm going to say, let's go for the 16-inch. That is the one that I will, well, actually I have it on order and I get it sometime in December. And then let's go to just the regular Apple store, and we'll say Mac, and we'll say MacBook Pro, and we will do the 16-inch. Ooh, that looks cool. Come on. I just want to buy. And the 16-inch. So if you see that, if we go with the low end 16-inch, just through the Apple Store regular is $22.99. If you go through the education, well, you know what? Hold on. These are the same prices right now. That's because it's going to the same store. Okay, scratch that. You can kind of compare, but it cookied me and it's taking me to the educational store. I'm going to have to open it up in another browser to show you the price difference, but there is a price difference. And in my case, it was $200 price difference. So my son ordered mine for me because his Apple ID didn't have any educational pricing on it. So I'd have to show you on two different browsers, and that's a little difficult to do. But just to kind of go through some of why this is coming up, because I've had a few people come and say, hey, things aren't working correctly. I'm like, well, let's take a look at your computer. Let's take a look at, if you have the updates. And so I know I had talked about this prior, but when you have aged hardware, you can't get the latest operating system on that. And when you can't get the latest operating system on that, you can't get the latest something like Ledger Live downloaded so that you can get the latest firmware on your Ledger. And then since you can't get the firmware and the latest Ledger Live, you can't get the latest apps. And then so you start running into problems trying to communicate with wallets. It doesn't say you need to update. In fact, that's one of the things I'm going to talk about with Qtum. It doesn't tell you you need to update. It just relies on you keeping things up to date. Whether or not they're going to introduce those features is like you need to have a minimum of this app on your ledger. I don't know, but they don't really have that. And it's hard to find that information because things change so quickly. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have updated hardware so that you can keep with the updated operating system, so that you can keep with the updated Ledger Live, so that you can keep your Ledger firmware updated and the apps on that updated firmware on your Ledger up to date. So that's kind of how the cascade is. I do like the MacBook Pros. I have a 13-inch right now. It does not give me enough real estate, and I need to, so I don't go crazy, I'm going to do the new 16-inch. If you're going to buy a new Mac, I would only go with the new M1 chip. The reason for that is they're phasing out the Intel side of it. So if you're going to buy something and you're going to keep it, I know some people are keeping it for 10 years. I did have my, the prior Mac I had was a 17-inch that I bought in 2009. And I finally had to just get rid of it in 2019 so that, it may have died, that type of thing. And so, hold on, I'm getting dinged from my family. And so, the Apple hardware is just fantastic. It doesn't seem to ever die. I just need to phase it out and get something new. I don't keep my computers for more than 4 years, just because it's the tool that I use every day. I have a 27-inch that I'm working on right now. I'm waiting for Apple to release their 32-inch, and from what I've heard with my friend over at Apple, they were running out. Well, they couldn't get the parts to release the 32-inch iMac. I think for my lifestyle, it's important to have a large desktop because I do video and I do a lot of things that I need space for. But I also need to get away and I need to have a laptop. You can choose which is best for you. But one thing that I would highly recommend, because I talk to people all the time that say, well, yeah, I trade using my phone. And I personally think if you have a small portfolio, that may be appropriate. But I know on a phone, the desktop space or the phone top space is not that much. And so when you're comparing addresses and when you're moving things and when you're doing a lot, I think it's important to have enough desktop space, laptop space to do those checks. it's really hard to do Ledger Live on your iPhone. You're missing a lot, or Android. You're missing a lot when you are not using a desktop or a laptop to manage your cryptos. And I don't want people sending to the wrong address. I don't want people, doing things that they would have saved them if they would have used more desktop space. So kind of going through the M1, the architecture has really changed. The M1 chip basically has everything on it nowadays. Actually, it's not just the M1 chip, but it is the laptops across the board because they're nice and thin, because they've gotten them small and light, and they're much nicer than they were 10 years ago. Everything is really kind of soldered onto the motherboard, the logic board, whatever you're calling it nowadays. I'm kind of aging myself probably on those terms. But if you buy a laptop and you have, a MacBook, if you get something with 16 gigs of memory, you can only have 16 gigs of memory. If you buy something that's 512 gigabytes of SSD storage, which is solid state drive, which is great because nothing spins, it doesn't require as much power to keep that hard drive spinning, and it's a heck of a lot faster. Whatever you buy is what you're going to get stuck with for the rest of the life of this laptop. That doesn't mean that you can't hang off a 1 or 2 or 4 terabyte SSD drive off your laptop. In fact, my desktop, the majority of work that I do is not on the internal drive. It is on an external SSD 1 terabyte drive, which as part of my backup plan, I clone that and I put it in a safe or a safe place so that if something ever happened to my desktop, if anything happened to that particular drive, I would have a clone that may be just a week old, so I'm not losing that much. But back to the laptops. Whatever you order is what you're going to have for the rest of the life of the laptop. And so if you think you're going to use the laptop for high-end things like compiling video, you may want to go to the high-end laptop. I did not get the high-end. I think I got the mid-range where I want enough memory and cores to do some things, but any video that I do, I'm going to be doing on my desktop because it's a lot easier to manage. But when I go away to my fun place and away from home, this past week or the week before, I had to bring my 27-inch because my 13-inch, oh my gosh, there was not enough screen. And most of my work was just a lot easier on my desktop. So that's kind of where things are. We can, if you guys have questions, you can ask that later on, but I kind of wanted to go over that just to start the conversation and to let you know, go and buy it through the education store because why not? Apple has a ton of cash. And well, let's just get the most reasonable price that we can. The next thing that I wanted to cover before questions was that now MetaMask and Ledger, they have the integration fixed. Supposedly they have it fixed. I've been working with it and it seems to be doing really well. I know when the Chrome 91, was it 9151 issue came up, the people were not able to easily connect their Ledger to MetaMask, and there were some issues. Well, Ledger and MetaMask decided to team up and fix this issue. So now I'll leave this URL in the show notes down below. But what you need to do to make sure is that you can have Ledger and MetaMask working properly. You need to make sure that you have the latest version running. And the latest version is going to be, actually it's 10.5.1, but right now, let's see, it is actually, let's go here, let's go to settings. Actually, you can't see the version there, but what we can do is we can go to manage extensions, and we can see that MetaMask, if we do details, is 10.5.1. But let's go back to MetaMask itself, and well, let's go, where are we? What you need to do is you need to make sure that under the advanced settings that the preferred ledger connection type is web HID. So we're going to go back into MetaMask. We're going to click on the little symbol here. We can go down to settings. It'll bring this up. You'll go to advanced and scroll all the way to the bottom, and well, close to the bottom, and it'll say preferred ledger connection type. There are, oh, you guys can't see this as I look over, and this is all, let me see if I can do this. Sorry about that, guys. Let me see if I can bring the settings up and do this all. Account details, expanded view. I don't know if I can do settings here. No, that's account details. Well, we're going to have to go back here to the article itself. You're going to need to go to advanced settings, and the preferred ledger connection type is web HID. Can't show you that because GoToWebinar does not like to do the pop-up on the screen. Okay, so let's see. Jetta Red is texting me with something. Okay, I'll go over that too. So we'll get back to the ledger. It's a lot easier to integrate the two right now, and they plan on doing more in the future. As far as kind of going back to keeping things up to date, there have been a few people that have had issues with the Qtum Core wallet. And they did the QI swap, and then you tried to send out, and it appeared to send out, but it really didn't because it wasn't caught up. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you have the latest Qtum Core, which is 0.20.3. If you don't have that, you may run into the issue that I ran into earlier this year. And that was, I thought it was up to date. I tried to send out some Qtum, and it just sat there forever. And it sat there forever until I updated the core wallet. And when I updated the core wallet, it took like 23, 24 weeks, depends on when you did it, to catch up, and then it would send out your Qtum. So what you want to make sure is that, as Jetta posted in the Telegram channel, check your wallets, make sure that you can access all of them, make sure that you can easily get to your coins when you need to. And part of that is making sure that your hardware is up to date, so that your operating system's up to date, so your Ledger Live is up to date, so your firmware is up to date, and the apps on your hardware key are up to date. So it kind of, it follows that you really need to keep things up to date so that you don't run into any issues. And I think that is, well, yeah, that's it. But one other thing that I wanted to go over was there was a comment. Let me see if I can pull this up. And I just bring this up so that people understand what what happens when when you do certain things. And that is someone was doing the boba, sending their OMG to um, uh, to the layer 2 network, and they got it up there, but they also needed to have Ethereum up there. And from what he said, because I was never able to complete it, he needed to send a little bit of Ethereum to get it off the layer 2, but it was going to cost like $350 to get that Ethereum up there. So it's hard to know what some of the smart contracts are actually going to charge, because a smart contract is truly that. A smart contract is written the way the person or group wants it written, and they may not tell you those fees that it's going to cost to actually get things on their platform and off their platform, or in different areas. I know I learned that with DOS. DOS, it was really expensive to get it off their platform. I mean, I know this is a while ago, but it was costing people 60, $80 to get their DOS off what was being staked. So depending on how long you had it on there to be staked and how much DOS you had on there to be staked, some people might have just broken even. I think I came out of the deal spending probably about $300 in fees. And I think at that point I made about $600. So I was ahead $300, but it just seems awful heavy in fees to have that as a staking option, as compared to something like T-Fuel or Theta, where it's virtually nothing. It's 0.3 T-Fuel, or ADA, where it's virtually nothing. I know there's a small fee. That's what staking should be about. Very small fees. Same with Flamingo and Neo, and whatever pair that you decide to do. So let's go and let me pull up the questions. Let me refresh this. Give me a second. I'm going to take a little tea break. Okay. Let me refresh that again. And if anybody wants to come on the air, we can try to do that too. I'll just kind of go through these and then we'll kind of move on. So David says, not a question. For those who have Windows machines, back up everything that matters to you. I nearly lost 2 years worth of wages in cryptos because Windows sucks and I didn't back it up. Fortunately, it recovered, still struggling with LCC and Qtum wallets. Well, I don't have the wallets here, but both LCC, Qtum, any core wallet like that, you can back up. Let me see if I can boot this up. I think I have some of those on this desktop. I may have removed it. I have the Qtum core. I know how to do it on Litecoin Cash, but let's try Qtum. I'll let that boot up and then we'll get back to it. But there's a couple different ways that you can back up your core wallets. One of them is through the interface itself. I recommend backing it up every couple months. And then the other part is you can drill down into the file structure itself and you can back things up. I can't show you the file structure here because it would dox me. I set this up back in 2017 before I knew I was going to do things like this. So my structure, until I get a new desktop, I can't really show you because it exposes some of my files. Yep, and it looks like I don't have the Qtum core wallet here. So I maybe will do it on the next live stream if you guys remind me, but there are ways to back up your wallets, and they're called wallet.dat files. And so what you want to do is you want to look for those wallet.dat files. They're not going to be in your typical My Documents kind of thing. They're going to be nested in an area that is that's invisible to you unless you display it. But you're absolutely correct. backups aren't going to do certain things that you need to have done or backed up for your cryptos. And so if you have a core wallet, and the core wallet is you download the whole blockchain on whatever coin you have, you need to back up the wallet.dat, and that should be in the application itself. It should say wallet backup. Keep that in a safe place, because those are basically the keys to your wallet. It's kind of like your private key. The wallet.dat file is your private key. Okay, Drew, from a tech supply perspective, how bad do you think getting a MacBook or iMac or any other tech product could be in the near future? Consider we can't purchase prior to our windfall in crypto. I think if we have a windfall in December, January, I think you're going to be okay. Christmas, I think, is going to be disappointing for people as far as the amount of product that's going to be purchased, but that's just my guess. It seems to be kind of diving down year after year. I think you're going to be okay with being able to buy something after the first year. That's just my guess. But it may not be as plentiful going into all the different stores as it has been in Christmases past. I was expecting the new Apple iMac to be out earlier, like around October. Well, they're not going to get it out for Christmas unless there's a mad dash at the last. So they are having problems sourcing tech product to build the unit. So we'll have to see, but it seems like they do have plenty of other that will last us well into the first of the year. David, been thinking about an Apple laptop of some kind, looking forward to your thoughts. Thanks for this. Okay, great. You are welcome. And we can kind of cover if you have more questions on the hardware, I hopefully might be able to answer that. Evan, should I future-proof myself by getting a new MacBook with more memory, seeing that my last MacBook has lasted me 10 years? Yes, I would go with what you think you're going to need in 3 years, 5 years. I will not really be compiling video on my laptop, maybe every now and then. So I don't need to go to the 10 core CPU, 32 core GPU, and 32 gigs of memory. I won't necessarily need that for the laptop, but I will spend the extra when Apple releases the desktop version, because that's where the majority of my work will be. Let's see if we can do something though. So the mid-range, I'm going to write this down so everybody knows. And so I can kind of compare, just because I know there is a big price difference, is $24.99, and that's the educational. Let's see if I can go back and not get cookied. Let me kill that one, and let's just go and go to Mac, go to MacBook Pro. Okay, here we go. And so the 16, yep, it took me back to the educational store. I can see by the HED. So I won't be able, you'll have to look it up yourself because it'll take you back to the educational store. I know I had to go to a different browser to do the purchase because it cookied me, and I don't want to have to clear that right now. So let's go back. So yeah, buy what you think you're going to use in the future, and it really depends. Everybody's so different. If you're just using it to surf, if you're using it for spreadsheets that aren't that big, you don't need a lot of the high end. The memory is handled a lot differently on the M1 chip than on the older Intel, so you don't need as much. Okay, Cristobal. Hi, George. I'm guessing that's 3,000 US in T-Fuel, ADA, and a few more coins. Do you think it's better? Okay, yep. Keep them in the wallets or send them to Caleb and Brown. It's such a small money that I feel bothering Caleb and Brown. Okay, you're going to need to talk to your broker. Sometimes they have a hard and fast rule that you need to have each coin a minimum of 2,000. Sometimes they'll bend that depending on how much you have on there. But honestly, if you feel uncomfortable holding your coins right now and you believe that you're going to liquidate, the end of this month into December, getting them to Caleb and Brown is a good idea. If you are losing sleep over um, holding the coins as compared to sending them to Caleb and Brown, don't lose your sleep. Send them to Caleb and Brown and just make sure you keep track of it. Make sure you have a receipt for it. Contact your broker and say, okay, what am I holding over there? And that it matches your records. Don't rely on them to tell you what you have. You just need to ask them what you have and then compare it against what you say that they should have. And so Dan is correct. There are, and maybe we'll do it later. I do have a video out there. If you have smaller amounts of coins, you can use Simple Swap to do that so that you don't have to send them to Caleb and Brown or send them to an exchange that then you have to send them, you have to hold them there, then you have to trade them, and then you put them into a different coin and then you send them out. Simple Swap is really a cool DEX. Throw it on there, it processes it, and then it brings it back to you. However, I keep on saying I'm going to do this video. There are issues with using Simple Swap, and there was one big issue that I had when I was doing my track, and I will do a separate video about that because I don't think you should rely on liquidating all your coins through something like Simple Swap because it's just not going to be there for you. This one is about trading, and I don't talk about trading at all. I just stick to tech. You have mentioned some, this is from Bob. You've mentioned several times now when asked are staked on Flamingo Finance, people are buying your NEO or your FLM based on either asset price. Can you explain a bit more, rather the process that is in plane when staking? Staking is different than Flamingo Finance. I know you can stake on Flamingo Finance. Let's go over there. Flamingo Finance is a DEX platform. And let me see how I'm going to do this because I don't want to show everything that I have. But there are two things that you need to do. One thing before you can stake the coins, and that is you have to add liquidity. And when you add liquidity, what you're doing, let me see if I can pull up, we use this wallet. Okay. You have to add liquidity, and that's going to a pool. And to add that, you have to add two of the same coin, okay? Or sorry, two different coins. You can add some NEO if you want, and some gas, or some NEO and some Flamingo. And you add the same amount. So you'd add $1,000 of each. Now, what happens is you add that liquidity. That liquidity is available for people to swap their NEO for Flamingo or Flamingo for NEO if you add that staking pair. And so you should always have, let's say you staked $1,000 worth of NEO and $1,000 worth of Flamingo. At the end of the day, at the end of every little time period, you should always have a total of right around $2,000. Now, the reason why you should have that is because you're swapping one for the other. And so it's not the number of coins that will remain the same, it's the dollar value equal to that. So if Flamingo does not move for 30 days and NEO does not move in 30 days price-wise, then you'll always have $1,000, or sorry, $2,000 total. That wasn't a good example because then you really wouldn't want to swap your Flamingo and NEO. But the The total will also increase as the value of the coins increase, but you should have 50% of the dollar value in each of the coins. So it's a total of 100%. What will happen is if NEO starts to increase in value because more people are buying NEO, your NEO will be bought and Flamingo will be put in its place. And the vice versa happens. So that when NEO really gets going, you'll see on a platform called, let me see if I can pull that up. Hold on just a sec, because I want to make sure I'm not showing the right or the wrong one. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I could show this one. Well, it's not going to show any tokens because I don't have anything staked, but there's a site called mymingo.finance. And in here, in this area right here, and just under the ads or the monthly sponsors, it will show you how many coins you originally staked and how many coins you currently have. And then it will give you a profit and loss of what you are up or what you're down. Most of the time it's up. But I may have more value in NEO than Flamingo and vice versa. And you have to kind of watch it. There is if you're not careful, you could lose some value. You will definitely not come out with the same number of coins. But when you don't come out with the same number of coins, you can swap those coins and rebalance your position. It is complex. It took me a while to figure it out. It's not something that I would go into lightly, and it's something that really takes a lot of understanding. And I don't feel like I'm doing it justice, but I kind of just covered the top part of that. Yeah, impermanent loss. There is a video on that. And people go into how you can lose. You don't lose until you sell, but there is that ability to lose if you don't know what you're doing. And this is from Bob. In a time like we are in, end of the bull run, how often are you plugging in your ledger just to confirm firmware and relevant apps are up to date, so when our targets are in play, you can send your assets off to Caleb and Brown without delay? Because I do this for a living, I'm plugging them in just about every day. When there is I open my Ledger Live probably every day. So for me, that's not a fair question. What I would do for you though, is I would say, do it at least once a week, open Ledger Live and make sure that things are there. But if you have updated hardware, which means you're gonna have updated operating system, which means you're going to have the latest on all of that, you shouldn't have to worry too much, but there are bumps along the road. And the perfect example was if you're playing in an unknown like Boba, where they gave a big warning saying this is beta, it has not been the smart contract has not been thoroughly tested, and so you have that potential of losing things. If you have some weird coins like EOS that are really not easy to get out because you have to stake EOS to get enough CPU to send that off, those are the ones that I would look at. But if you have the standards, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, things that are easily done in Ledger Live, then you shouldn't have to worry that much. Okay, Bob says, I've purchased a few of the educational videos and love every one of them, but I haven't taken enough profits to purchase I want it all option. For you, besides the cybersecurity course and the trust class, which of Jay's educational videos are your highest priority to invest in and review now? Honestly, I would, those are longer term. It depends on what your goal is. I'm not a chartist. I kind of rely on Jay for that. My focus is on tech. It really depends on your interest. You may want to look at the Elliott wave, but I don't have one that I'm going to focus on and try to learn in these last, 10 weeks or so to the end of the year. So I personally would focus on that after this run. I would focus right now paying attention to the numbers, the coins that you have, making sure that you can move them over and see what's going on in the broad spectrum and not in the trading side of things. But that's just me. It really just depends on how much time you have and what your interests are. But if you're going to take Jay's courses, I would say, starting with the, you know, the first going all the way up to Elliott wave. Elliott wave is really not that easy to understand, and the others are kind of building one on top of the other. So if you're going to take his courses, I would say, start, you may not, if you've been in the space for a while, you don't need Crypto 101, but start at the beginning and they build on each other. Okay. CC says, hi, George. I tried to move a small test amount of Qtum to the Qtum Core wallet to the ledger. Never arrived. The address looks right. In fact, I copy and paste and double checked before, saying everything looks right to me. What are the next troubleshooting steps? And I did answer that, and kind of brought it up that if you don't have the core wallet up to date, you could run into those issues. So make sure the core wallet, any wallet, any piece of hardware is up to date, because what you have to remember is, because people say, well, it worked yesterday, but it doesn't work today. Well, we don't know when things were updated. For everybody that has a Trezor that had or still has T-Fuel or Theta, one day it worked. Trezor worked with the Theta wallet, and the next day it didn't. So you didn't know, one day from the next of why it did and why it didn't. Well, because they released something on the back end that changed things and broke the Trezor integration. And I think the integration went live November 12th, so that would have been yesterday. So Trezor folks, if you have tested that with Theta, I'd love to see and hear from you to see if it worked okay. Okay. Hi, George. Do you suggest turning on File Vault disk encryption on my MacBook Air M1? Thanks for all the hard work. Yes, I definitely do. I always recommend that. If you do disk encryption and someone tries to hack into your computer by putting in a thumb drive that has an operating system on it and boots up off that thumb drive, they can gain access to your hard drive with no problems at all. But if you put an encryption on that hard drive, they will not be able to do that at all. As part of the disk encryption, you will be issued a series of numbers. You want to make sure that you write that down. That series of numbers, I think, you could even put into your Ledger Live, sorry, not your Ledger Live, your LastPass to hold it there, because most likely someone is not going to be getting into that. I would never put my 24 words or 12 words type of thing into LastPass, but my MetaMask password, that type of thing, I feel comfortable as long as you have two-factor authentication on that. Okay, Blondie, hi George. I tried logging into Ledger to view my Theta T-Fuel, but Theta wallet didn't recognize a Ledger attached, so I tried updating the Ledger Live and logging in, but it says my password is wrong. I'm now having a panic about what I've done wrong and not being able to access. Do you have a video showing what to do? If your password is wrong on Ledger Live, you can reset the password. When you reset the password, basically it erases everything on Ledger Live. It doesn't erase things on your Ledger hardware wallet. It just erases the accounts that you have on Ledger Live. So what you would need to do is just add those accounts back. You haven't lost anything. You just have more work ahead of you, because you'd have to go to your spreadsheet if you have it, or what's on your ledger itself, and just add those accounts back. For some really good videos, I'm going to point you back to, we're going to go here, bitcoinacademy.io, go to the founders page and scroll down. And right here, Crypto Dad, he has some great videos. He's done a lot of videos. He's a good tech guy, and his videos are slow and they just show you what to do. And any ledger setup, how to use a ledger, that type of thing, I really say don't spend your money with me or really anybody else. First, go to Crypto Dad, watch his videos, because the best part is he will show it to you right in front of you. Whereas if you work with myself or Jetta Red or Nate, you've got to do that on your own, and we can't show you through whatever mechanism is we're communicating with you. So Crypto Dad is a great resource for that. Okay. I found a new airdrop, Solo for XRP holders. That's great. Hello, George. I'm having trouble sending SHIB to Caleb and Brown. I'm using MetaMask wallet on Firefox on my MacBook Pro. I have the SHIB and ETH keys on my Ledger Nano S. I have about 105 in Ethereum in my wallet, and when I try to send, it just fails. I think it may have trouble connecting to my ledger. I'm not prompted to approve the transaction. Another factor is that there is only a couple of USB-C ports on my MacBook, and I'm going through an adapter on my ledger. I can see the coins on my MetaMask. I would, okay, I'm going to back up a little bit. One of the reasons why I am going with a 16-inch instead of my 13-inch, which I love. I don't really travel that much, but right now the 16-inch has 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports. The 13-inch has 2. Let's see, where is that? Yeah, 2 Thunderbolt ports. Having 2 as compared to 3 is a huge difference for me, because what I don't do anymore is use an adapter when I use my Ledger hardware wallet, when I use my YubiKey, and partly because I don't know if it's built into the Ledger. Because these are true security keys, you can think of a ledger as a security key, just like a Yuba is a security key. What they don't want to do is have what they call a man-in-the-middle attack. And the man-in-the-middle attack is a way that you think you're communicating directly from like your ledger to the computer. It's mainly man-in-the-middle attack is kind of networking, mainly where it's referred to. But I think what Ledger has is that, and maybe other hardware wallet providers, is that if they see that it's not a great connection or a direct connection, it may not connect properly, whether or not it can't connect properly, or that it detects it as being a strange connection and it won't connect properly. That I don't know, and they're not going to tell me if I ask, because that's part of their security strategy. So if you are having a problem, what I would do first thing, make sure your laptop is charged and don't go through an adapter. I've had plenty of people where I don't know if the adapter went bad or what happened, but when they removed the adapter, it worked fine. So as part of what I had talked about before, and I think it's in a prior Tech Saturday Only, get cables that go directly from whatever you're using to the computer itself. I know, the Ledger X and the Ledger S, they come with the older USB connection, and they don't come with USB-C to USB-C. So go to Amazon, look back at the show notes on an earlier Saturday only, and there are cables that you can use that do a direct connection, so you don't have to use an adapter. That is the first thing that I would do before troubleshooting anything more, because that has solved my issues in the past. Hi, George. Can you tell me your thoughts on Blur? I have LastPass and Delete Me already, and I love them. I also have your VPN. It seems Blur is being advertised as another way to hide your identity online. Any options would be, or opinions on this? I don't have an opinion on Blur right now. I looked at it briefly a while ago, and I just have not gone down that road. Because there are other things that I use, like simple login, and because I have other things in my life, I would love to look at that, but I am not going to look at anything new until after this run, because I just need to keep my focus. I mean, I was going to bring up some things like on privacy and how to do this, that, and the other, and I thought it would be best for people just staying on course, and this stuff can all be handled after this run is, because I missed the last run in 2017. I am not going to miss this run, and so I am staying on task. Hello, George. Can you give me your opinion on the best secure email service? Do you consider Proton to be the best choice? Thank you. Proton is a good choice. There's not a best choice. What people have to remember is that, I could kind of go on forever on this, but Proton Mail is an encrypted email service, which is great when you need it. 95% of the emails that I send and receive, I don't need to have encrypted. And you got to remember, you can have a Proton Mail account, which is encrypted, except for two things, the to and from and the subject. Those are not encrypted. The email itself is encrypted, but if you send it out to out of Proton Mail, it's not encrypted. So if you send it from Proton to Proton, and there's some communications that I do with people, Proton to Proton, just because I just don't want this information out in the public. If you leave Proton Mail, it's not encrypted. And just know that. And this is not a conspiracy when I say this, but when email is sent through the internet, it will end up in a depository in, maybe Utah, but there's a big facility that was created and built there, where your email, your voicemail, is being harvested and stored. Whether or not it will ever be looked at, I don't know. If you do something bad, maybe it will be. So, just know that when email is sent, it goes in what they call clear text, and it goes across the internet, and anybody, if it's intercepted, can read it. And just know that. But what the best service is, and for what you need, I have multiple services. The one that I use day to day is my own domain, my Black Lab. And I feel fine sending and receiving, orders from Caleb Brown or sent across that. I use my Proton for other things that might be a little bit more private. If I wanted to send some of my trust documents or some business documents that I don't want out in the clear, I will ask that person, do you have, a Proton mail address? And I will send it to them that way. And I'm not going to put in the subject line, this is my trust, or exactly what the document is. I'll just be like, hey, put that as a subject line, and it won't draw that much attention. But Proton is a good email provider, but it's not your only one that you could use. I find it much easier to use Outlook on my desktop. I've been using the same email address since the 90s. So I will not be switching everything over to Proton. Elaine, it will not be small money when things pop. You are correct. Sorry, George, above comment was meant for Cristobal and Dan. No problem. Elaine, hi. Uh, thanks for doing this webinar. I'm having trouble using mycrypto.com as an alternative to Mu. What video did you address that in, or can you go over mycrypto? I can't right now because I need to set that up before, because I would need to have a bogus wallet, because I don't want everybody to see what I have. It really depends on the issues that you're having. So I can't solve the issue without knowing, like, hey, this is the error that I'm getting, because it could be the Ledger app is not up to date. You could be using an older or non-standard Ledger cable. So it's hard to say from that. I don't have a MyCrypto go through because I haven't needed that. But if you send that to me, I'll see what I might think it might be. But most of the time, when people email in and say, hey, I have this problem with this wallet, be like, yeah, it could be a million and one things, and I can't even take a stab at it through an email, because I just go through in my head and go click, 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 and make sure everything is okay. So let's go. Oh, it's okay. We've been in an hour. Let's go to questions that you guys have submitted, and there aren't that many. So let's see. Okay, this is from Al. In Thursday's live stream, someone mentioned or asked about, will Caleb and Brown require a tag or a memo with XLM transactions? Can you explain this? Thanks. There are quite a few coins out there that are going to need a tag or a memo. And what that means is, I can't go through all the different ones, but XLM and XRP are kind of sister chains. They're based on the same technology. And you'll notice that when you have XRP in an Exodus wallet or your own Ledger wallet, you always have to keep, I think it's now 20 XRP in there. That's just their standard way of doing things. The same with XLM. You can't send every XLM out of a wallet. One has to remain. Why that is, it's based on their blockchain, and to lock up coins that you're never going to get off for every wallet that you create. But what happens is a place like Binance or Caleb Brown or KuCoin, they do not want you to have 20 XRP locked up in your wallet, because you're going to scream and say, why can't I get my 20 XRP out? And then they have to tell you why technically, and your eyes will glaze over and you won't pay attention. So what they do is they have one main wallet that comes in as XRP, as XLM, and the memo signifies your account. So if it asks for a memo, it basically means that that memo is tagged to your account, so that XRP or XLM or Hedera hash graph, there's a couple others that I know off the top of my head, an Exia, will all need a memo put into it so that they know what account to put that under. Oh, and Jetta, thank you. It's now 10 XRP. The purpose is to stop spam wallets, from clogging the blockchain, and so that there'll be a lot of locked up coins that you can never get off. This is from ER. Hi, what network cable do you recommend for an HP laptop? I want to get away from using Wi-Fi. Thanks for all this. You do. Depends on how your network is set up. I actually just upgraded my my wireless network. I added a new piece to it last night because I was tired of having things drop off in my living room. But it depends on your network, how you have it set up, how you have your cable modem come in, or it would be great if everybody had fiber. But if you have a Cat5 or Cat6 Ethernet cable, and you can stretch it far enough to wherever you plug your internet in. That's all you really need. Having the Ethernet is your best option. I know that there are dongles and there are other things depending on your hardware. You may have to dongle off something so that your laptop or your computer will connect to an Ethernet cable. And it really depends on what your HP laptop has. I know on the Mac side of things, you can see that none of them have an Ethernet cable. You'd have to do a dongle. It's nice that they have an HDMI port, especially if you want to plug it in and watch Apple TV Plus or other things. So it really just depends, but a Cat 5 or above, so anything like a Cat 5e, Cat 6, Cat 6e, I've seen Cat 8. Cat means category, and so the better the cable, the higher the category. You're not going to need anything above a Cat 5e or 6. So don't spend the money on an 8, because then you're talking about 10 gigs going through it. But yeah, it just really depends on your situation and what setup you have. Okay, Dawn, I can't remember if it was you that said the latest Mac OS makes the older Macs running on Intel slow. Is that correct? As I haven't updated my MacBook Air to the latest version because of it. That will probably always be the case because number one, Apple is going toward the M1. It's their own Apple silicon, so they're writing the silicon. They're burning the silicon specifically for their operating system, so it's going to function much better. There's something, if you have a new M1 and you try to install something that is not written natively, you'll see something called Rosetta pop up, and it'll say, do you want to install Rosetta? And it's okay to install Rosetta. I know that came up when people were running the Theta Edge node. And Rosetta needs to be installed for some of the older applications to run correctly on the new chips. So will it make it a little bit slower? Probably, because every operating system gets bigger and more complex. And so because of that, the older chips won't run as fast. You may not notice it. It probably just depends on what you're trying to do. You're gonna need to up it. It's best to keep updated on things if your hardware is slowing down, because when you put on the latest operating system, I know I can say this because you're like, George, you're kind of going on about this and I don't want to hear about it anymore. But because I use it every day, and because now computers are not like they were back in the day when a family thought, oh, we're going to get one computer, we're going to put it in the kitchen, and everybody can use that computer. No, nowadays you use computer for just about everything that you do, and you want to make sure that you have something that's really reliable. You may not use it that often, and it may not bother you, but if upgrading, I haven't noticed a speed decrease, but I'm on the M1 chip, so I can't tell you how much slower you may work with the Intel. I don't think it's going to be that much, but I don't know what version you have. Some of the hardware you can't even update, and I think part of they do to as a marketing thing, like if you can't upgrade to the latest OS, you're going to have to go buy another computer. The other is it can't support some of the older hardware and the older chips. Mark, you mentioned in the last live stream that you no longer have iOS on your iPhone wallet. What are you holding it now? Because that is where I have mine on Hobie Mobile Wallet. I had it on my My phone, I want to upgrade my phone to an iPhone 13, and I know I'm going to be getting out in December. So mine is actually over at Caleb and Brown. I know. It has not been sold yet, and it may be a couple weeks before it's sold. But I was also holding iOS for two other people because one of them was a long-term hold for a friend, a very good friend, and the other was a friend that said, "Oh my gosh, Binance let me on. I have iOS, I have Sia Coin, I have no place for it to land." So I took their iOS and I took their Sia coin just so that they could get it off because they had to do everything in 5 days. So if you have it on your iPhone or whatever mobile phone you're using, you can leave it on there until if things go well in December and just send it off. But I wanted to get some of my harder ones off my wallet. Plus, I wanted the people that were on that wallet to get out of my wallet. Because if I do upgrade, I don't want to have to worry about things transferring over properly. And it was just going to be too much work. I know Citadel Wallet is a good one. Just make sure you create the Citadel wallet correctly. But you can leave it on there for now. And this reminds me because I was talking to, well, not talking, but texting with someone, and they said, a bunch of us binge team members got together and had coffee, and there was kind of a little gathering that they had, which I thought was really great, because it seems like there's a commonality that people can sit down and have coffee and talk about potentially things going really well for Christmas, but that people can get together not just online but actually in person like we used to do in the good old days, but now it just seems like everything is virtual. This is from Sandra. Hi, George. Is or was there an airdrop for ADA? And any update on Pulse Chain? I did not do sacrifice, but not sure what else, if any, I'm supposed to do. I don't know of an airdrop for ADA. Maybe there was one a long time ago, but I don't think so. Maybe there's one coming up. If someone says there's an airdrop, I would always go to the official website or source to make sure that that's correct. And because there's been so many scams with ADA, like YouTube channels that are broadcasting supposedly something that's live that I know was recorded like months ago, that if it says, oh, here is, send us 1,000 ADA and you'll get 2,000 ADA back because we just like to do that, it's a scam. If it says, send us 1,000 ADA and we'll send your 1,000 ADA back with an airdrop, it's a scam. Anytime you have to send your coins out of your control, which means out of your wallet, 99% of the time it's a scam. Now, that could change. Boba you kept in your wallet even though you moved it from layer 1 to layer 2. But just be real cautious on any supposed airdrops. There's no update on Pulse Chain. He is going to just do it when he wants to do it. I know it's not easy to clone the Ethereum blockchain and have everything work really well. What he does not want to have happen is like happened with OMG. And OMG, and I'm not going to get into trading, but let's go to, whoops, coin market cap. This was a hot topic a little while ago, and let's go to OMG. OMG, we all know, just had a wonderful ride up, partly due to the Boba announcement. And so everybody was buying OMG to participate in the Boba airdrop, and then OMG dropped off to kind of where it was before. everybody was pumping it to get the boba airdrop. Well, he does not want people to do that with pulse chain. So if you don't know when pulse chain snapshot's going to be, you're just going to go on your day-to-day business. And if he announces that it's going to be tomorrow or that it happened yesterday, well, then it's just going to be a snapshot of something that is common and not let's go ahead and buy a bunch of ERCs or a bunch of tokens in a particular coin because we want the pulse chain airdrop of those. So that's why I believe he has not announced that. Okay, Pardito, have you heard any issues with the new MSOS Windows 11? I'm getting prompted to update, but will probably wait for a little while before doing any updates. Any insights would be appreciated. So Windows 11, I don't really have I'm not caring that much about Windows 11 right now. I will after this big move, but honestly, like I have been spending so much time getting people through some big issues that they have with their coins that I'm just focusing on the little things like the Mac because I want a Mac. And some of the day-to-day things that are relevant for everyone here. I know, Windows 11 is pretty relevant to your day-to-day work, but I'm not going to go down that road because there's so many things that need to get done, especially for me, before the end of the year. So I don't have an opinion. You can wait on that. I always think it's best to wait until the second release is done, unless you want to potentially run into problems. Usually when I update my Mac, I update my laptop first and then my desktop because my desktop is my go-to and I use it all the time. But if I find that there are issues with the software that I'm running on the laptop, then I won't do it on the desktop until that issue is fixed. Okay, this is from EM. My Qtum is on Ledger. I used to have Qtum Core. Do I still need? Nope. If you have everything off the Qtum Core, you don't need your Qtum Core anymore. Now, I would always back up the wallet.dat file no matter what and keep a copy of it because it can't hurt to keep a copy because potentially, let's just say someone announces an airdrop that occurred prior to their announcement date. And if it was on Qtum and you threw that away and got rid of everything, well, if you kept that wallet.dat file and you remembered the password, then you might be able to claim that airdrop depending on, there's not an airdrop on Qtum that I know of, but this is why you keep a copy of your wallet.dat file on any core because you can go back and claim something if there's something that is announced in the future for a time period that happened in the past. Elaine, did I hear you correctly that your Qtum wallet took 23 to 24 weeks to update, or did you mean 23 to 24 hours? I cannot get on my Qtum wallet to update. There's always a certain percentage incomplete. I think the wallet is empty, have not tried to update with Big Sur OS. Maybe old laptop was the problem. Check the version of your Qtum wallet because that is the issue. It's not that it took 23 to 24 weeks. What it did was it showed that, let's see, where did I go? One of these I had, Qtum wallet, there we go. It showed that my wallet was like 2 weeks behind, 3 weeks behind. When I did the update, then it took it back 23 to 24 weeks behind. And it took, I was working with someone this week. This is his exact issue that he had. He just needed to update the Qtum Core, and it went back to, I think it was 26 weeks, 24 weeks, something like that. And it took 2-3 hours for it to update. But once it updated, then he could send the coins and receive, and it was back to normal. So I would try to update your Qtum Core wallet, and that issue should go away. Okay, and Dustin says, totally get it. Good, good. Tom, hi George. Which of your courses do you explain how to encrypt, store information on a thumb drive that you can give to someone for safekeeping? That is on, and I don't promote it that much just because that's me. But if you go to the bitcoinacademy.net under technology, there's the cybersecurity bootcamp 2021. There's still a couple that I need to do. I know. I went up, I went someplace to get away for the week without my family, and I was going to do a bunch of these and ended up doing none because there were people that needed some big help. It was more important for those coins to be found than to get this out. But I have about half of the VPN class done. The Pi-hole class, I have some of it done, but the problem I'm finding is I cannot get any Raspberry Pis. And I haven't been able to get Raspberry Pis for 2 months now. There's a worldwide shortage of Raspberry Pis, and the Raspberry Pi is the what I run my Pi-hole software on. So yeah, the cybersecurity class, it should be through part 2 somewhere, backup and encryption, and hardware wallets in 24 words. So right in here is where I show how to do both on Windows and Mac, an encrypted thumb drive and how you can store that somewhere else. And this is from Ryan. In discussing backups, I've historically only done file or folder backups. I have both Windows and Mac OS. Is there an app or software that would do a broader backup for these OSs? Well, you know what? It depends. It really depends on what you need. The majority of things nowadays don't need your whole computer backed up, because if something dies, you just put the operating system back on and you're good to go. Now, some of the core wallets, that's a little bit different. I use Windows. I've never honestly trusted their backups. Every time I seem to have had an issue and I've gone to the backup, there's always been an issue with the backup. I gave up backing up their stuff 6 years ago. It may have been, it may have become better. Maybe Jetta can chime in on that. But I always back up my things individually that I need, because my backup system is different than anybody else's, because it's unique to me. When I back things up, yes, I have a hard drive on my main Mac, and that runs Time Machine, and that, every time a file is changed, it'll back up to Time Machine at a given time. But that's not good enough for me. It's great in case I lose something. I think I've only used it once in the last 3 years. But what I do is part of the cybersecurity class. I back up everything in triplicate to different devices. So if I have a core wallet, I back up that to a thumb drive, and that thumb drive is cloned, and I keep one openly with me that's encrypted, and then one in a safe or a safe place. And then on a weekly or monthly, depending on how busy I've been with that thumb drive, I will back that up to another hard drive as a complete backup of the thumb drive. Basically just copy everything over. And on that hard drive, I have backups of all my thumb drive backups going on 4 years now. And so if I found something that was corrupt, I could go back and back and back and back to potentially the original one and get that backup. So I'm not backing up my whole computer. I'm only backing up the things that I really need to be backed up. So I'm not worrying about backing up an operating system or backing up software that I don't necessarily need. And I think that personally is the best way to do it, because you're backing up what you need, not necessarily what you don't need. So space doesn't become as important. And what really becomes important is that your backups are not just stored in one place, they're stored in multiple places. Because the question that I ask people when they talk about backups and 24 words and that type of thing, and I say, okay, so you go to work one day and you come home and space aliens have taken your house and you're never going to see your house again. Can you recreate your 24 words to a new ledger with what just occurred? So if you didn't have your house, basement's gone, everything is gone. Do you have your 24 words? Do you have your backups somewhere else so that you don't lose your fortune? And in that example, my 24 words are backed up in multiple places, as well as all my other documents. And because I'm not backing up an entire computer, computer operating system, applications, I can get everything on one thumb drive. And I can take that and leave that at a relative's house that's encrypted and say, this is really important to me. Can you hold on to this? Um, I did try that with a friend, and he's not listening, so it doesn't matter. But I gave it to him, and he was, on the other side of the country. And I asked him about 6 months later, I said, hey, can I have that thumb drive? I want to send you another one. He's like, what thumb drive? I'm like, oh God. The thumb drive that I gave you, because just in case something happened. He's like, oh, well, I'll look around for that. I didn't feel that bad because it was encrypted, but I was kind of annoyed more than anything. And so what I did was I changed the way I distribute my thumb drives, and he is not included in on that. And he did find it, and I just had him erase it in a particular way so that it was just gone. But everybody has to have their own strategy. I know some people have an office down the street and they have a safe there and they can put a thumb drive in there. Some people have a relative, states away. So it really just depends. But I would say not backing up the computer or the entire operating system, but the files that you need, and structuring it that way so that you just keep the things that you need updated. So I can't say this is the best thing, backing up the entire operating system, because I've never really had good luck with that. Okay, Radine, warm wave, hello, G. Newbie question. I am very interested to buy a new Mac M1 since being I think long time Windows user. Any thoughts on the best educational modules to get myself up and running quickly? Do you mean educational like how to do this, that, and the other? If you do, I mean, the one great thing about YouTube is that people just put about anything out there. And I would look on that. I don't know of a class per se that is, this is how to run a Mac, because everybody wants it a little bit different. But I know that there are some really good YouTube videos out there on how a Mac works, how the latest OS might work. That's where I would start. I don't have a class per se that I could point you to and say this is a really good one. Okay, Sandra, I have the original Wax on my Wax wallet. Oh, on your Wax wallet. Okay, so the original Wax, not an ERC20 Wax. On my Wax wallet that I'm having problems accessing this from the 2008 Wax token. Do you think these are the Wax? I think you mean ERC20 coins. I might not be accessing the wallet correctly. I just frustrated, so I've not tried lately. Sandra, are you accessing it from from an Ethereum wallet, or are you accessing your Wax from a EOS wallet? that's, well, EOS based wallet. That is the thing to that I'd need to know. If you're doing it from an ERC20 Ethereum wallet, there's no bridges, and just hold on to your wax, and maybe someday they'll open the bridge again. But right now, there's no way to convert your wax from a ERC20 to the wax mainnet. Pardito, a million thanks to you and Jay. You guys rock. Thank you. Okay, Mark. Just upgraded my iPhone to a 13 mini last week and everything transferred smoothly. Yeah, they have done an amazing job being able to transfer your files and your phone. Like if you have an iPhone and you want to upgrade from the 12 to the 13, you set them by each other, you run through this little thing, and it just does an amazing job. I know that they have the same thing with the desktop models. I never update that way because I want to leave all my garbage from my desktop or my laptop behind. I just copy the files because it goes back to Ryan's question of, well, what do I back up? On my desktop, because I don't know what I don't know, and I might have caught a virus or malware or something like that. I most likely I did not, and I don't think that I ever have, because I'm pretty particular about that. But I only copy the files that I need and then reinstall the applications. I don't do the migration from one to the other. And so that's just my style. Your style may be a little bit different, but congratulations, Mark. I'm gonna be behind you on that 13, but I'm gonna give my 12 to my mom because she is a 10. And so it's all this process of upgrades whenever I upgrade my phone. I don't sell my phone. I give it to a relative and then I take their phone and I'll sell that one. This is from KD. Hi, George. I've left all my OMG on Exodus, secured by Treasure. Good for you. Any action on my part to get the Boba airdrop, or did I miss out? I don't think you were able to put it on Exodus, but I don't know. Let's take a look. Boba. Because I know exchanges were doing it, but Exodus is kind of a wallet. And oh, I was wrong. Jetta, you're right. It was Binance US. I didn't see that earlier. I thought it was just Binance.com. But I don't think that you're going to get the airdrop. Wow, they added a bunch of exchanges in the last minute. You're really not going to get the airdrop with Exodus because it is a wallet and you needed to move to the from the L1 to the L2, layer 1 to layer 2 to get that. The only other way was to send it to an exchange, and I did not send mine to an exchange. If I miss out, I miss out, and I'll be a little bit sad, but not that sad. Okay, Lane, I have a functioning iPhone SE 14.8.1 from 2016, but I'm worried it will be outdated soon. Not soon. I think it's kind of outdated now. I like the size of it. Do you have any thoughts or upgrading to the same size iPhone and newest OS? I do have thoughts. I have, let's go to iPhone. I have two iPhones for various reasons. I have the iPhone 12 and I have, stop the marketing. I just want stats. Do they show it? I have one that is the iPhone 12 mini, and then I have my regular iPhone 12. One that I use day to day and one that I use for work. I would go into an Apple store if one's close, or go into Target or any other, Verizon, pick up and hold the iPhone 12 mini. And actually you can go into Costco if there's Costco close, and see which one best works for you. I prefer the iPhone 12. My husband prefers the 12 mini. The mini is too small for me to read stuff, but I'm a bit older and I need reading glasses when I have my contacts in. So, I prefer a bigger screen than the 12 mini, but it's such a personal choice. And so I would go in and take a look. Part of having a phone that old is battery life and other things. And it would suck if it just, if it died all of a sudden. And those are some of the things that you need to think of. But why am I talking about the Mini 12? If you're going to get something, treat yourself right. Go to the 13. 13 is the same kind of situation where they have a smaller and kind of mid-range. The Mini and the 13 just regular. If you really, for anybody who wants a little laptop that they are carrying around, then you can go with the Pro model. The Pro model is way too big for what I want, and it's overkill. I don't need a lot of I don't do a lot of photos in it that are, high end like that. I don't need a lot of memory because the only thing that takes up memory on my phone is pictures, and I store that a different way. But yeah, going in and holding it, it's such a personal choice, and that's probably the best way to figure it out. Redeem, how to work the Mac. I would go look at, I don't think Crypto Dad has it, but I think there are a bunch of YouTube channels out there that will show you how to do the different things on a Mac and kind of get comfortable with it. I don't know of any course that really could be sold nowadays because there are YouTube channels out there just, showing it for free. Okay, 3 more questions. Hold on. Oh yeah, we're 3 minutes over. Okay, this is from Christina Mariana. George, I liked my Exodus with MetaMask. Oh, you linked your Exodus with MetaMask to the L1 for Boba. Okay, yeah, that is great. Sherry, if we had OMG on Binance, do you know where we will see the airdrop for Boba? I have a sell order on it. Do you know if that makes a difference in eligibility with Boba? Thanks in the meantime. I don't know. I know that the snapshot was on the 12th, and then the 19th is when the airdrop will actually happen. So you're going to have to wait to see where it ends up in Binance. Really, that's kind of a question for Binance. They may have hard and fast rules like you have to, keep your OMG until the 19th. I don't know, but since it's their playground, their sandbox, they get to make the rules. Okay. And this is from Sandra, and it looks like the last one. I've had 2 instances now where it took over a week to get my coins to Caleb and Brown. First time was Tezos. Luckily, it was a test, and due to the maintenance issues at Caleb and Brown, they gave me another address, and it went fine for the balance. On 11/4, I did a test for Caleb and Brown deposit address from Coinbase, and it was fine. I used the same deposit Caleb and Brown address to move 44 Link from Pheamax to Caleb and Brown, sent 11/4, and they just arrived 11/12. I'm waiting for Caleb and Brown to get into the office to find out why it took so long. Not sure if it was the Pheamax side, which said it was sent successfully, or the Caleb and Brown side. I'll let you know what they say. There's one easy way to find out. Exchanges sometimes will hold it for a period of time, sending out. But if you look on the blockchain for that particular transaction, you will see when it actually sent out. And I know some exchanges hold them for a period of time for some strange reason. But yeah, all of that can be found out on the blockchain on when it was really sent out and really received. So that is last question. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday. And maybe we will try this in 2 weeks. Thanks a lot. Have an amazing Saturday. Take care.